We got Grandpa Flacco taking the Cleveland Browns on the road to take on CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. If the Texans are going to win this game, they need CJ Stroud to have a fantastic performance. And for him to be able to do that, this offensive line has to be able to keep him upright. And I'm really concerned about this offensive line and CJ Stroud going up against this stout Cleveland Browns defense. This has been one of the best defenses in the NFL this season. They're great against the run. They're fantastic against the pass. And Houston's offensive line really worries me in this game. We know that this offensive line has dealt with injuries for the majority of this season, and they haven't really been all that great. And when you got to go up against Myles Garrett, who at one point was in the MVP discussions, Darius Smith, and you got Jim Schwartz calling plays for Cleveland's defense, you definitely are going to have to add a different wrinkle to your offense if you're Houston to find a way to keep this brother CJ Stroud protected. And CJ Stroud, he's played at a top 5 level this year. All right. There are only 4 quarterbacks that I would take over CJ Stroud right now. And I don't have questions about how ready is he going to be for this game. I know that he's going to be well prepared, and I don't think that he's going to struggle too much. But this offensive line for Houston is a major concern. And that's really what's going to worry me about this game for Houston offensively, because they aren't really a team that's all that great running the football, although they have had a little bit of success with Devil Singletary on the ground the last few weeks. But this is mainly going to be a game that Houston is going to have to win relying on CJ Stroud's arm. Is he going to be able to get it done? I believe he can, but is this offensive line going to give him enough time to be able to deliver effective passes down the field? Now, Cleveland, they got Grandpa Flacco at quarterback, and this dude has been the biggest story in the NFL. Like a couple of months ago, this dude was sitting at home on the couch, taking his kids to school, and all of a sudden, he gets that call from the Cleveland Browns, he balls out, and he leads this team to the postseason. Joe Flacco has played really well this year. All right, and the Browns have a lot of confidence in this dude. Normally when you sign a guy from home, you normally try to play conservative. But they're not scared to ask Joe Flacco to air the football out. And Joe Flacco, the problem with him is that he has problems taking care of the football. And turnovers are going to be really big in a game like this when you got 2 defenses that are really good. We know the Browns defense is good, but Houston's defense has been insanely underrated this year. All right, they got Will Anderson, who is one of the best up-and-coming young pass rushers in the league, and they got a pretty good secondary that is really good at forcing interceptions, especially Derek Stingley. Like, this dude has come on ever since he got back fully healthy. And Joe Flacco, we know that, yeah, he's been really good when it comes to generating big plays in the vertical passing game to Amari Cooper and David Njoku, but the ball security is a little bit questionable for him. And with him being a veteran, going into a playoff game with this kind of atmosphere on the road, I know that he knows it's important to take care of the football, because a turnover in a game like this could be what Houston needs to give them a win. And with CJ Stroud at quarterback, who I would say is better than Joe Flacco right now, you don't want to give him extra possessions. This Browns offense used to be really relying on the run. Well, the run game may not be at your disposal because Houston is really good against the run. Now, they got their ass carved up last week against Jonathan Taylor. He ran for damn near 200 yards and some change against this Texans defense. So, Houston, you take away the run game, you make Cleveland one-dimensional, you know that Joe Flacco is going to give you some opportunities to come away with takeaways. So therefore, offensively, you got to make sure that you're able to capitalize off those mistakes. The problem is that Cleveland's defense is so good that they can bail out this offense if they do have to deal with a couple of Joe Flacco interceptions. All right. But really, for Houston, if you can win the turnover battle in this game and you can also capitalize that by converting those mistakes into points, let's say Joe Flacco throws 2 interceptions and those 2 picks turn into 2 touchdowns for you, that could be enough to swing this game in your favor. I don't know how many points the Texans offense is going to generate by themselves. I'm not saying that they're going to get shut out, they're going to get blown out, but this is a Browns defense that is stout at every phase defensively. They got a great secondary, they got a great front 7. It's really hard to move the ball against this stingy, aggressive defense. CJ Stroud is going to have his work cut out for him, and you got to wonder if this Browns defense is going to overwhelm him, especially with him not playing behind the best offensive line and them not being able to run the football as effectively as what they might need to. And playing complimentary football in the postseason is key if you want to make a deep playoff run, especially when you have a rookie quarterback. I don't doubt CJ Stroud's ability to be effective in this game. But what worries me is that with him being so young, the Texans may put a little bit too much on his shoulder in a game like this. And Cleveland, they don't need Joe Flacco to just have the ball out. All they need for him to do is to play at the level that he has been playing at the last few weeks and to minimize mistakes. If they can do that, you feel really confident about the Browns' chances of being able to pull this thing out. Now, Cleveland, to me, on paper, they look like the better team. Yeah, they've dealt with injuries on the offensive line, and they also have some other injuries that they've been dealing with at other positions. But their wide receiver position still is better than Houston's. Houston's best receiver right now, Nico Collins, is all they have. Tank Dell is out for the season. And they also have Dalton Schultz at tight end. But they need a little bit more. Cleveland, not only do you have Amari Cooper, but you got David Njoku. You also got Jerome Ford, who's been pretty solid for you, not just on the ground, but in the passing game also. And despite the injuries that you've had up front, your offensive line has still been pretty serviceable when it comes to keeping Joe Flacco upright. And with how good Cleveland is defensively, I got to take them to get the win. Now, yes, Houston has the quarterback advantage, and they also do have a really good coaching staff led by DeMeco Ryans, who probably should win Coach of the Year. But when you have this much of a disadvantage up front that the Houston Texans have, it's going to be hard for CJ Stroud to have a great game when he's not going to have that much time to throw the football. And if you want to double team Myles Garrett, what's going to be your answer for Zadarius Smith on the opposite side? The offensive line for Houston really worries me. And once you get into the playoffs, if you don't have a great offensive line, you're not going to be able to go that far. Cincinnati was the only outlier of a team that's been able to make it to the Super Bowl in recent past, not being great up front. When you look at the 4 teams that we got in last year's conference championship games, we got the 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles and the Chiefs and the Bengals. What did they all have in common? 3 out of 4 of those teams had awesome offensive line play. And Houston, I don't think they're going to get that in this game. And with that, I can't trust that CJ Stroud is going to be able to be effective as what he needs to be for the Texans to get this win. Now, CJ Stroud can get solid protection. I definitely believe they can find a way to pull out the victory, especially with them playing at home. But just you got to deal with Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith, and with how aggressive this defense is, and Jim Schwartz, one of the best defensive coordinators in the game, going up against a young CJ Stroud. I just believe that there's going to be way too much on CJ Stroud's shoulders in this game. We know Houston can't really run the football all that well, and you got to play complimentary football. The Browns being the more balanced team, having an aggressive, great defense is the reason why I'm taking them to get this win against Houston. My final score prediction is Cleveland 20, Houston 13. I'm taking the Browns with the victory.